25,000 men stand on a marshy plain, their armor burning in the stifling August heat. Facing them is a horizon that does not end, a human ocean of 100,000 soldiers, 300 cannons, and the ambition of an empire that has never known defeat. They are the last shield of Christendom, standing on the edge of the abyss, and they are already dead. This is not a battle, it is an execution waiting for a signal. The young man at the center of the Christian line, King Louis II, is just 20 years old. He sits on a nervous horse, wearing a suit of silver ceremonial armor that cost a fortune, armor that, in exactly 4 hours, will drag him to the bottom of a muddy stream. He knows he has been betrayed by his own nobles. He knows help is not coming. Yet, when the sun hits its zenith, he lowers his visor. The order is given. Dust explodes into the humid air. The earth begins to tremble, a low vibration that travels up through the boots of the infantry and rattles the teeth of the knights. Archbishop Pal Tamori, a Franciscan friar dressed in heavy plate armor, raises his mace. He is the commander of this doomed host, a warrior priest who had begged the king not to fight here, not today. But the time for begging is over. Tamori spurs his horse. 4,000 heavy cavalrymen, the flower of the Hungarian nobility, the last true knights of the Middle Ages, surge forward with him. They are a tidal wave of steel, thundering toward the Ottoman center. They are not riding to victory, they are riding into the mouth of a machine they do not yet understand. To understand why they are riding to their deaths, we must step back into the silence before the storm. The road to this muddy field was paved with 30 years of arrogance. For decades, Hungary commanded the Black Army, the most feared mercenary force in Europe. But that army is gone, disbanded by greedy nobles who feared their own king more than they feared the Sultan. Now the defense of the realm relies on feudal levies, peasants with rusty pikes, and lords who spent the weeks before the invasion arguing over tax exemptions. While they debated, Ottoman engineers were already building bridges across the Drava River. The march south was a nightmare of disorganization. The king had to pawn the royal silverware just to pay for gunners. As they camped here, on this flat, featureless plain beside the Danube, the air grew heavy with dread. The scouts reported an enemy force so large it drank the rivers dry. From the ridge to the south, the sound arrives before the soldiers. It is a terrifying, rhythmic thrumming, the Mater, the Ottoman military bands. The shrill scream of the zurna pipes and the deep, bone-shaking pounding of the kurs, giant kettle drums carried on the backs of camels, fill the air. European chroniclers would write that the noise pressed men's brains out of their mouths. It is a sonic weapon designed to paralyze the soul before the first arrow is loosed. Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent watches from a high mound, seated on a golden throne brought for the occasion. He sees the Hungarian formation, a thin line of brave men with no reserves. He sees the terrain, waterlogged ground that will suck the speed out of a cavalry charge. He turns to his Grand Vizier, Ibrahim Pasha. The trap is set. He signals the Janissaries to check their matches. On the Hungarian side, the sky begins to darken with storm clouds. The heat is stifling. Sweat runs into the eyes of the men in the iron suits. They are thirsty, tired, and terrified. But they remember the legends of John Hunyadi. They believe one Christian knight is worth 10 conscripts. They believe in the myth of the unstoppable charge. They are wrong. The collision is sickening. The Hungarian heavy cavalry smashes into the Ottoman vanguard, the Rumelian troops. The sheer kinetic energy of 4,000 armored horses obliterates the front lines. Lances shatter, shields splinter, and the Ottoman line buckles. For a heartbeat, it looks like a miracle. The Rumelians are breaking. They are turning and running. King Louis, watching from the rear, thinks he sees victory. "They run!" the cry goes up. "God is with us!" The king orders the rest of the army forward. The infantry, the mercenaries, the light hussars, they all rush into the gap, chasing the fleeing Turks. But it is a lie. The Rumelians are not fleeing, they are opening the door. As the Hungarian knights gallop through the dissolving enemy lines, flushed with the ecstasy of the kill, the Ottoman ranks suddenly part like a curtain. And there, standing rock-still in the center of the field, is the reality of modern war. The Janissaries, 12,000 of them, and in front of them a black wall of iron, 300 cannons. These aren't just cannons, they are chained together. Thick iron links bind wheel to wheel, barrel to barrel, creating an unbreakable metal fence stretching across the battlefield. The Hungarian knights, momentum carrying them forward at 30 miles per hour, slam into this fortress of chains. Horses trip and shatter their legs. The charge piles up on itself in a horrific, crushing mass of steel and flesh. Then the world turns white. 300 cannons fire at point-blank range. Grape shot rips through the tangled pile of knights. Before the smoke can clear, the Janissaries raise their arquebuses. Crack, crack, crack. The volley fire is disciplined and relentless. Lead balls punch through breastplates made to stop swords, not high-velocity bullets. Archbishop Tamori screams orders, but his voice is lost. A musket ball finds him, and his crusade ends in the bloody mud. In the center of this hell, a moment of mythic heroism unfolds. 34 knights, the Markali brothers among them, have sworn a blood oath. They do not retreat. They cut a path straight through the smoke, aiming for the golden throne. They hack through the Janissary guard, driven by pure, desperate fury. They get so close that their arrows strike the cuirass of Sultan Suleiman himself. For one terrifying second, history hangs in the balance. But there are simply too many enemies. The 34 are pulled down and butchered at the foot of the throne. With the heavy cavalry destroyed, the trap snaps shut. The Ottoman light cavalry sweeps in from the flanks, crashing into the exposed sides of the Hungarian infantry. The squares disintegrate. It is no longer a battle, it is a hunt. Twilight falls, and with it, a torrential summer storm breaks over the battlefield, washing the blood into the Danube. North of the slaughter, a small group of riders gallops frantically through the mud. It is King Louis. They reach the Cheli stream, swollen with rain, the bank steep and slick. The king forces his horse down the bank. The animal slips. The horse rears, loses its footing, and falls backward, landing on top of the rider. There is no glory here. Just a 20-year-old boy, pinned underwater by the weight of his golden armor, drowning in 3 feet of muddy water while his kingdom burns behind him. 2 days later, Sultan Suleiman sits on his throne as the rain continues to pour. He writes in his diary, "The Sultan receives the homage of the viziers. Massacre of 2,000 prisoners. The rain falls in torrents." Before his tent, a pyramid of severed heads is built. The Battle of Mohács was the end of the Middle Ages in Central Europe. It taught a brutal lesson. Courage is nothing without unity. If you enjoyed this journey into history, please like and subscribe for more lost legends of the battlefield.